Terry McLaurin, frustrated with the burgundy and gold, wants a new contract. So he left voluntary OTAs after initially attending last week. And so, according to NFL insider Jordan Schultz, that when you look at these negotiations, the talk between both sides has been, quote, minimal. So they're not talking a whole lot. McLaurin frustrated. He's in the final year of his contract, caught a career high 13 touchdowns in 2024. I will say at some point, I hope, I don't have any insider information, but I would certainly hope that both sides can come together on some sort of agreement, because no player on this current roster has been a better soldier than Terry McLaurin. Because if you think about what he had to go through to sort of get to Jaden Daniels, like he just put his head down, he kept working, kept catching passes, kept being a great talent who needed someone to get him the football. And now, as we saw this past season, now that we have someone in Jaden Daniels who can throw Terry McLaurin the football, we're seeing how very good he can be. So I think it eventually gets done. But right now, I'm a little surprised that things seem to be at a standstill.
Yeah, and especially because now it feels like the Commanders finally have like a good 1-2 punch at receiver. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but last year it just felt like a bunch of guys had to elevate their games, or maybe it was Jaden Daniels kind of raising them from the ranks, because it was just Terry McLaurin. So now at least you have Deebo Samuel in there as well. But if you take away Terry McLaurin, like, Jenks, what is this receiver room without him?
Terry's the number one guy. I know they have Deebo,
right,
but it's definitely Terry. They have Noah Brown back. I got rid of Jahan Dotson. This is not a, they have Luke McCaffrey when they drafted last year, who shows a lot of promise, but it's not deep. It's not deep. So it's sort of top heavy. Now, if you have Deebo and then you have Terry McLaurin, you have Jaden Daniels, and all of a sudden, and you have a guy like Austin Eckler who can catch passes out of the backfield, you can do a lot in that offense. But he's absolutely crucial, and I think the Commanders know that. Terry McLaurin certainly knows that, and he's going to get paid, whether it's by Washington or someone else. But I can't imagine a situation where the Commanders let him go, because it's still very, very early in his career, and clearly he has a connection with Jaden Daniels. You would not want to somehow upset that or have that come to an end when they're showing so much promise already, and JD5's only going to get better in his second season.
Right. You want to keep the band together, because obviously the first rendition, the first tour was very, very good. So why try to change anything from a season that went so well, especially for Terry McLaurin, who's been there for quite some time? Like, he's finally at the mountaintop where he's seeing the promised land. Like, don't tell him to go home now. Like, he just got here. So clearly a number one receiver that deserves to be paid as such. So hopefully he gets his bag.
I hope so. The Commanders right now plus 225 to win the NFC East, 20-1 to win the Super Bowl. Denton, you're Commanders guy, right? So wouldn't you put money on the Commanders to win the division, since there hasn't been a repeat winner in 20-something years?
I feel like you have to. At least a little bit of something on there.
Yeah, you have to.
A little something. You have to. You don't have a choice. You have to. I did. I put a little on there, not going to lie. Plus money for your own team to win the division. And it's easy to say, here's the thing about the NFC East. It's easy to say, oh, the Eagles will definitely repeat. Maybe they will. But I feel like there have been so many very good teams over the years in this division, and we say that every year. Oh, they're going to repeat. It just doesn't happen. The NFC East has always been a very fickle division in that way. And the Commanders to make the playoffs just minus 140. That's surprising to me. I thought there would be more minus money there.
Yeah, I think the questions are, can they continue to be consistent? Because isn't that always the question with a young team and a young quarterback, is that even if you have a great rookie season, maybe it's not going to be there every single Sunday. So maybe that's my question with the Commanders is it going to be, an every week thing, or were they going to have some bumps in the road? Because normally, success is not a straight line. You have some peaks and valleys. So I think for me, and maybe talk me off of this, like, instead of winning the division, or, obviously they have to make the playoffs if, you like this next bet. But the Commanders to win the NFC is plus 850. I feel like those are pretty good odds for a team that came damn close. And I understand the Eagles were the much better team last year. But still, if you think this Commanders team continues to improve and you give them an entire regular season to, get their ish together, I feel like they're a team that can be extremely dangerous in the postseason, especially when you have an elite quarterback. So I think instead of like a regular season bet, I think I'd go with, them to win the NFC at plus 850 just because the number, it's so enticing.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that the case against Washington is, okay, last year they had ending after ending after ending that always went their way. That's very difficult to accomplish in back-to-back seasons. And then number two, they had one of the easiest schedules in the NFL last season. So you're not going to win every single game at the end of the game, and especially when your schedule is much harder. But the flip side to that is that now they're in another year under Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury and Joe Witt Jr., and when you have a guy like Jaden Daniels, I think sometimes the simplest explanation is the best explanation. That's Occam's razor, right? Where it's, you know what, though? As long as you have this kid at quarterback, you can win any game. It doesn't matter if maybe you have a weakness here or there. If you have this kid at quarterback, especially after what we saw last year, you have a chance. You're in every game. So that's the case for, and I think that far supersedes the negatives against Washington.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're looking at the other odds for, like, other teams in the NFC, like, the Eagles are 3-1, Lions are plus 450, Niners are 8-1. Like, the Commanders, I'd put them against any of those teams to have, like, a shot. And even if they just make it to the NFC Championship game, you've got one side of the equation at plus 850, because obviously the Eagles deserve to be favorites. They are still a very good team. But I am just saying, when you have somebody like Jaden Daniels, you have a shot. And that's the thing when you're taking a team at plus 850. So, I still think that's a good bet for them to win the NFC.